Welcome back in, everyone. I know so many of you have tuned into my channel because of this bike right here, my 3T Exploro. You have seen over the years as I have made many changes to this from when I first got it, putting on a 1x setup, moving over to the SRAM access setup, changing wheels and tires out, changing my handlebar setup. The list goes on and on and on. But today I have a change to this that is bigger than all of them. So in this video today, I'm going to walk you through all of the changes I have recently made to my 3T Exploro and let you know what's going to be in store for my 2024 and how I'm going to be using this going forward. So first things first, and this is probably the biggest change that I have made to this bike. When I first got this, it was a Shimano 105 mechanical group set 2x with a 48-32 chainring combination up in front and an 11x34 combination out back. And that was a really good gear ratio as far as top end speed and low end range. However, I had massive issues with chain drops on that setup, so I ended up going to a 1x setup. First, I went to a 1x setup using a 42 in the front and an 11-40 with my Shimano Ultegra rear derailleur, which did work out well for the most part, and I completed the 111 miles of Belgian waffle ride on that setup without issue. The main issue that I had with that setup is that the 42 tooth chainring in the front and the 11 tooth out back left me not that high of a high-end gear ratio for faster descents and fast group riding on gravel and on road. And my rear cassette with the 40 tooth in the back and the 42 in the front didn't even give me a sub 1-to-1 ratio for the climbs that really proved to be difficult at the end of a 100+ mile gravel race like I had at Belgian Waffle Ride. So after I went away from the 1x Shimano setup that didn't have quite a large gear range, I did move to a SRAM Access Explore group set with a 42 up front and a 10-44 tooth out back, which did still give me that 4.2-to-1 ratio up front, which was fairly high for faster rides with that 42 and the 10 out back. And I still had a sub 1-to-1 low gear for those climbs when I was fatigued, and that did come in handy at races like Unbound with some of those sharp, steep climbs on it. The issue that I had with that, and I'm not sure if this was just my setup, but there was so much friction at either end of the cog out back, and it just felt really draggy, and I didn't like that feeling when I was riding. So because of that friction, I decided to change it up. With that said, I have made some changes, and they are, so I did end up going back to a 2x setup. However, I went ahead and went with the SRAM Access Force 2x setup with a 48-35 up front and a 10-36 out back. So that gives me a 4.8-to-1 high-end range, which is the same as what I had on my road race bike, and the low end is still sub 1-to-1 with a 35 up front and a 36 out back. So that is a monster range, and I do believe part of the issue that I had with the chain drops up front is there was a massive gap between that 32 tooth inner ring and the chainstay down here, and with that bigger 35 tooth ring, it doesn't give the chain enough room to jump up in between and have that chain suck chain drop. In addition to changing up to that 2x group set with SRAM Access up here, I was able to get rid of my Favero Asioma Uno power pedals that I used and I modified specifically for mountain bike pedals, and I was able to just go back to standard mountain bike pedals because I now have a chainring spider based power with my Quark crankset here. So that is a better power measurement for most of my rides, and I don't have to worry about the Aeronova pedals. The next change that I made to this bike has to do with the inner triangle here, and I did move to carbon 3T side loading bottle cages. I did have the Tax Zero bottle cages on there. They had great bottle retention, but the problem is in my size, because as you probably know, I'm a pretty short fellow, and the inner triangle of the bike was so small that getting 750 milliliter bottles in and out of bottle cages was difficult, to the point that I really couldn't use my front bottle cage regularly unless I only had one bottle, because it was just too tight up into the triangle. Another change, easily noticeable right here, right up front, is the Tailfin Top Tube Bag. And this right here is a great addition. It has a whole lot more capacity for carrying gels or even spares and repairs for my bike as I'm out on longer rides. Readily accessible, and I think this is going to be a really good addition. I haven't had it very long and don't have a lot of experience with it. If you want to see a review video on this Tailfin Top Tube Bag, go ahead and let me know down in the comments, and I'd be happy to put something together for you with my thoughts on this. The last big change you'll see on my gravel bike setup for 2024 is, of course, the wheels. I splurged a little bit and got a really nice set of Zipp 303S wheels for the gravel bike. Give me a little bit of extra aerodynamics, lighter weight, hookless setup, and their inner width is much wider than I was using before, so much better suited for gravel tires like what I'll have set up on them. And I think these are going to be fantastic moving forward into the 2024 season. So that's really a good overview of the changes I've made to the gravel bike for the 2024 season. Go ahead, let me know down in the comments, what is the best change you think I've made for my gravel bike this year? Is it going to be the 2x SRAM access setup that I have, or is it the nice fancy schmancy Zipp 303S wheels? So I can't end the video quite like that, because there is just one more thing. If the components that I put on this bike look familiar to you at all, that's because these are the parts that I pulled off of my road race bike that I'm going to be using on my gravel bike today. And the reason for that is because I am going to a one bike do it all setup for 2024, and I'm going to see how it works out. I'm going to see if I can swap over road wheels and tires on this, see if I can commute back and forth to work on this effectively, if I can take it out and race in crit races and road races over the course of the year and still be competitive. So I am going to make this my 2024 goal, to use one bike for everything and see how well it works out. I know that I have in the past made comparison videos comparing the 3T Exploro next to my road bike and found that the Exploro was significantly slower, much to my surprise, but that's not going to deter me on this. I'm going to go ahead and give it my best to do this one bike experiment and see if you really need a whole bunch of different bikes to specialize in everything that you do, or if one bike is really, truly good enough for all of it. So here she is, all stripped down, no group set, no wheels, no saddle, because I did go ahead and swap my carbon saddle over to my gravel bike. But I just don't want anybody to worry. This one isn't going anywhere, unless of course somebody makes me an offer I just can't refuse on it. But my plan is to just hang this up here in the shop, and if for whatever reason I feel like bringing it out of retirement, it's ready to go and I can build this back up better and faster than before. So there you have it. That's my massive change for 2024, and I really want to know your feedback. Do you think the changes I've made to the gravel bike are good ones? Do you think I'm going to regret going back to a 2x? Drop it in the comments and we can discuss. So until next time, enjoy your ride.